Justin Drew Bieber.
Is that his real name?
Yeah, did you know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah, Justin Drew. JDB. And guess what? He dropped I Love My Wife, the album. I mean, but also I guess like with a
Learning from Chance.
but also a Martin Luther King quote in there.
We'll get to that.
Very odd. Justice dropped, and if you listen to Justin Bieber's album Changes, and was that last year, 2020, early?
Yep, February 2020.
Pretty forgettable album. I would say probably the worst stuff he's put out. It seemed just incredibly uninspired at that point. Go check out our review to hear deeper thoughts on that. But you know, I thought some of the singles are coming out of this weren't too bad. I thought Holy was catchy. I didn't mind. What was the other single that came out? Lonely.
Mhm.
I thought Lonely was okay. So I was like, you know what? Maybe we're gonna get something a little bit different here from Biebs. Maybe we're gonna uh, be back to the old Bieber. But after listening to the rest of this album, I felt like we're kind of still just in this like he's
Yeah.
happy, but not making super interesting music. What did you think?
Huh. Interesting. So I think it's important to remember that Changes was 5 years in the making. You know, it was a long time since Purpose, the highs of Bieber's career. And we get to Changes, and it's unequivocally the most disappointing album of 2020. Album was bad. Yummy, the lead single, sucks. Right? Despite
isn't
the perplexing Grammy nomination.
Yeah, I mean,
and that album was not well received. Important to remember, though, Justin Bieber, currently the number 2 artist on Spotify, Changes was the 8th best-selling album of 2020 globally. It was successful for Justin Bieber, but I kind of had a hint that he didn't end up satisfied with how it all went because we started getting those singles pretty quick, man. You mentioned them. Holy and Lonely comes out. Monster with Shawn Mendes. And on those 3 tracks, lyrically, it's like, oh wait, Justin is actually like somewhat grappling with like the layoff he had and like growing up in a certain sense in the public eye. It's like interesting to hear that. Because before what changes, it was like, oh, I'm just happy Justin Bieber's back and on the right path in his personal life, right? But now he's actually bringing that into his music. That's cool because we weren't getting any of that on Changes, right? Changes was this really melodramatic. He wanted to call it R&B. It wasn't really R&B, but like it was just uninspired and not really interesting.
Right.
And Justice, it's not Purpose. Clearly, there's no what do you mean or sorry on this. It's not that far. I think is a lot closer to what he should be trying to do. Song to song. I think inserting Martin Luther King Jr. speeches as samples, both in I believe the first track, and then that MLK interlude song, that's ill-advised. Let's say he's talked about wanting to use his platform for raising awareness, and but it has nothing to do with the rest of the album, and feels awfully performative to me. I think we can just completely remove that. No one was gonna hold it against you if you didn't talk about current affairs on your pop album, But I think there's some clear moments and some clear songs on Justice that are just leagues better than anything we got on Changes. So I'm just happy we are at least an upward trajectory in a certain sense.
I agree it's better for sure. I still just don't think this comes close to where he was before. And to kind of just circle back to what you were just saying about the Martin Luther King stuff, definitely should use his platform to talk about the injustices that are out there, and there's plenty to choose from. For me, it's just the rest of the album wasn't about this stuff. Like it really was just about he's very content with his life and being in love with his wife. And he tried really with one song to be like, sometimes I'm not so happy, or sometimes I get anxious, unstable. But otherwise, the rest of it really is just like, Haley Baldwin, you are the best thing that ever happened to me, and I'm very happy that we're together. Cool, good for you.
It's probably true. It seems like it is true. She was a very positive influence on his life. Great for them. But it's a little one note most of the time.
For sure.
Definitely learned something from Chance after they made Holy.
Well, so tell me, what were the tracks that like stood out to you or that you liked a lot?
Yeah. So I think it's also important to note that the two songs I'm about to mention are both produced by Louis Bell, one of the most successful producers in pop music. Those would be "Deserve You" and "Die for You" featuring Dominic Fike. "Deserve You" has the Phil Collins kick drums, and boy do they work. I think that song production wise is great, and his vocal pitch actually like changes a lot. I think it's a really good performance from Justin. Uh, and then "Die for You" with like that's the 80s new disco everyone's doing, dude, and the song
I
is good.
know.
So like those two songs right there, I'm like, oh my god, like maybe he just needed to work with the right people again. Like no offense to Pooh Bear, but Louis Bell knows what fucking buttons to push. He's the reason Post Malone is who he is, you know. So those songs like really sent me, gotta say.
Yeah, no, I would say definitely the one with Fike stood out to me. What was it called again? Die for You.
Yeah.
I thought that one was pretty good. Um, I mean, Die for You really is just like that, like '80s like pop, like throwback kind of jam that everybody's going for. But it totally worked, and it sounds so different from everything else on the album. I kind of just wish he did more of it, like lean into that, and it made me think that if he had if he had been maybe a little bit more mainstream when like Daft Punk was doing like Random Access Memories, I would have
Mm.
loved to have heard him like on a track like that because I feel like he really could have popped off.
I mean, he was mainstream in
Well,
2013. Let's not
right, but I guess like
misspeak. But
he wasn't really in like the Daft Punk
no, he was his
lane
music
at
was
that
still
point.
quite evolving as he was like
Right,
still a teenager, I think. So
right.
yeah. Um,
Um, what else did you like?
Yeah, well, I mean, to die for you, like you said, like his verse when he starts out, like "She's a stranger to the night shift." Look, I think that whole performance again, it sounds a lot like unlike the rest of the album. It's like a different kind of style from him. And in general, I feel like his vocal range, like his pitch, like whether it's a little more washed out in some of these choruses, or he's actually really just singing his heart out on some of the verses, like he's actually like doing a lot on this.
Mhm.
And again, stark contrast the changes, which just felt so you know, down the middle, one note, almost monotone, like it just God changes
Yeah.
sucks. Uh, I also really liked Ghost. I think that's actually one of like the better like combinations of like lyrics and like still trying to make a big pop song. And then Peaches also with Daniel Caesar and Giveon. That one's got a music video out now. I think that one's really good. I like Bieber's performance on that, and I also just love the look for Giveon. Like he's
Mhm.
like probably top two male R&B these days. This is a great look for him, and also giving a look to Burna Boy. Not that Burna Boy's an unknown, but again, if just using his platform to put some maybe lesser known artists to his casual fans is a nice bonus, I guess.
Yeah, no, certainly. I was glad to see Burner Boy on this for sure. I mean, I think it's funny because when I think about Bieber, I don't necessarily think about the albums that much. I think about the
No,
singles, and like you said, nothing reaches the highs of a lot of the songs off Purpose. I mean, I was back looking at the track list on Purpose before, and that 3 song run. What do you mean, sorry, and love yourself? All
yeah.
three in a row on the album. It's like okay, just turn the album off after that. Like
Mm.
those three are just the best songs, some of the best
I,
songs ever made.
I was listening to the company as well off purpose this weekend, and that's like heavy electronic song. Maybe
Mhm.
Daft Punk and him could have done more of that. Per
That's
your
true.
initial suggestion.
Yeah, I mean, he was also doing "Where Are You Now" with Jack U at that point. So,
Right.
I mean, what was that? Who was in Jack U? Was that
Skrillex and Diplo.
Skrillex?
Skrillex is
Yeah,
actually
that's
on
right.
two of these songs on Justice. Funny enough.
Skrillex, man, haven't talked about him in a while.
Yeah,
I
I've
mean,
been waiting for a new Skrillex album. It is nowhere to be found.
we got a Porter Robinson album on the way, though, right?
Yeah, that is a long time coming as well.
um, Justin Bieber's definitely on the right trajectory now. We'll definitely have one of his tracks on the playlist. Dave, any parting thoughts on the Biebs? Drew,
True.
JD. He should go by JD. Let's get the Justin
JB.
rebrand going.
JD. Damn,
JD.
that'd be a tough rebrand, I think, for him because
Yeah.
he's probably the most famous JB at this point. So,
Oh, for sure.
at least in terms of SEO purposes, I don't know if he can go for a new set of initials. That might not be the best branding.